You ever notice how they love to say a freedom isn't free? They slap it on bumper stickers, t-shirts, flags, coffee mugs, and the backsides of pickup trucks driven by people who've never questioned a damn thing in their lives. The freedom isn't free. Yeah, no kidding, it's on layaway with interest. Because every year, someone else pays for it while someone richer collects the receipts. You don't get freedom handed to you. You rent it, you make payments, you get the illusion of choice. And they make sure you feel lucky enough to even have that. That's the genius of the whole scam. They make you believe you're free while keeping you busy signing invisible contracts for every breath you take. Freedom in this country is like a subscription plan. You think you're getting unlimited access, but the fine print says that terms and conditions may apply, and you never read those terms because you're too busy scrolling, buying, working, praying, or posting your opinions that don't matter. They say you can be whatever you want in America. Oh yeah? Try being unemployed for 6 months and see how free you feel. Try telling your landlord my rent is late because I'm expressing my freedom of laziness. See how that goes? Freedom stops right where the bill begins. They tell you freedom means the right to vote, to choose your leaders, to make your voice heard. And people actually believe that. They line up like sheep at the polls, patting themselves on the back, convinced they're making history every 4 years. I voted. Yeah, congratulations. You chose which puppet you like better. You didn't pick who writes the script, who funds the stage, or who's counting the ticket sales. You just picked which actor's gonna lie to you for the next term. Freedom? You're in the audience cheering for the illusion of control while the real decisions are made backstage by the guys who own the theater. And they love that you feel involved. They love that you wave your little flag and chant slogans. That's the whole design. Keep you emotionally invested in a system that was never designed for you to win. Freedom in America isn't about power. It's about permission. You're free to do whatever they allow you to do, as long as you don't mess with the profits. You can say anything you want as long as it doesn't threaten the people who own the microphones. You can go anywhere you want, as long as you can afford the gas, the ticket, the tax, and the hidden fee that keeps the engine running. They call it the land of opportunity. Yeah, opportunity for who? The guy who already owns the land. You're born into a mortgage you didn't sign. You go to schools that teach obedience, not curiosity. And you work 40 hours a week, hoping to retire just before the machine decides you're no longer profitable. And all along the way, they whisper of freedom. They put it in your anthem, your pledge, your movies, your morning prayers, your military ads. But freedom is the magic word that keeps everyone hypnotized. Say it enough times, and people forget to ask what it even means. You know what freedom means here? It means you're free to consume, free to buy, free to own stuff that owns you back, the freedom to drown in debt while calling it prosperity, the freedom to be monitored, tracked, influenced, and manipulated by devices you paid for. You bought your own leash and now you brag about how long it is. You've got freedom of speech, but nobody listens. You've got freedom of religion, but everyone worships the dollar. You've got freedom of choice, but every choice leads to the same checkout counter. And when you start to notice how broken it all is, they give you distractions, noise, entertainment, outrage, football games and fake debates, political theater, corporate morality plays. They don't want you thinking, they want you reacting. You think freedom is in the Constitution, but the Constitution is just a contract. And guess who wrote the contract? The rich, the powerful. The ones who had the ink, the paper, and the guns. And they made damn sure it said what they wanted it to say. Freedom for them meant freedom from accountability, freedom from taxes, freedom from competition. The average person thinks freedom means doing whatever I want. But it's never been that simple. You can't walk naked down Main Street waving a chicken leg without getting arrested. You can't even sit somewhere too long without someone asking if you bought something. Freedom always comes with conditions, and those conditions are designed by people who have no interest in your happiness. Just your compliance. You're told that freedom was fought for, that men died to protect it. But who did they die for? And what freedom were they protecting? The freedom to send the next generation to die for the next war. The freedom for companies to sell weapons while waving flags over the caskets. Every war this country's fought was branded as noble. But noble for who? It's always noble when the profits are up. freedom becomes a slogan, a product. They don't sell you liberty. They rent you patriotism. You can't have real freedom without truth, but truth doesn't sell well. Truth is messy, inconvenient, uncomfortable. So instead they give you slogans. Support the troops. God bless America, but freedom isn't free. Catchy little jingles for a distracted nation. Nobody asks who profits when freedom comes with a price tag. Nobody asks what we're paying for when the bill says or so. And people cling to that illusion like it's holy. They'll tell you how proud they are to be free while working jobs they hate, under bosses they fear, paying bills they can't afford. They'll chant a land of the free at the top of their lungs while scanning barcodes for minimum wage. You can't even die freely in this country without paperwork, licenses, and taxes. They got you covered from womb to tomb, and every stop in between costs extra. Freedom. It's the most expensive word in the dictionary. The funniest part is people defend the system that exploits them. They'll argue, fight, even die for the right to stay in their chain. That's how deep the programming goes. They don't want freedom, they want familiarity. They don't want responsibility, they want reassurance. They want someone to tell them they're free so they can go back to sleep. They want comfort, not consciousness. Because real freedom means thinking for yourself, and that's terrifying. It means stepping outside the script, outside the slogans, outside the herd. And once you do, you realize the whole thing's a setup. Freedom has become a performance. You perform it for others. You post your opinions online like they matter, like anyone's listening, while the algorithm decides what you see, what you feel, what you think. You're free to scroll, free to argue, free to believe whatever version of reality your feed supplies. It's digital democracy, the illusion of influence wrapped in dopamine. You don't even notice the cage when it's made of pixels and praise. And then there's the economy, the great equalizer, right? Wrong. The economy is the new religion and freedom is its holy sacrament. You're free to participate, free to compete, free to be crushed by a system designed to keep you hustling. They call it capitalism, but it's really just legalized stress. You trade your time, your health, your peace of mind for little green papers that don't even represent anything real anymore. And the people who print the money? They're not free either. They're just better at pretending. The system doesn't want free people. It wants predictable ones. Predictable people buy more, fear more, obey more. Freedom scares them because it's uncontrollable. Real freedom means not needing them, and that's bad for business. So they make sure you're always chasing something. A job, a title, a gadget, a purpose, a dream, anything to keep you running in circles. They call it ambition, but it's just distraction. You think you're moving forward, but you're running on a treadmill they own. And every now and then they dangle a little hope. You can make it if you work hard. You can achieve anything. The great American fairy tale. They hand you a shovel, tell you to dig for gold. And when you hit rock bottom, they sell you the flashlight. You can't question the system because questioning it makes you ungrateful. You can't resist because resistance is labeled unpatriotic. So you smile, salute, and keep paying your dues, hoping one day your turn for freedom will come. Spoiler alert, it won't. Because freedom as they sell it isn't meant to be achieved. It's meant to be pursued. It's the carrot on the stick. The endless promise that keeps you compliant. They talk about liberty like it's oxygen, but the air's getting thinner every year. They suffocate you with comfort, drown you in options, and call it choice. You're free to pick your flavor of poison. That's the game. Red cup, blue cup, Coke or Pepsi, Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. They're all serving from the same fountain. You want to know why a freedom sells so well? Because it feels good to believe in it. It makes you feel special, chosen, part of something grand. It's emotional heroin. You inject it every time you hear the anthem, salute the flag, or tear up during a commercial about soldiers and sunsets. You're high on nationalism and it feels right. But the come-down hits hard when you realize you've been paying for your own sedation. And the people at the top, they know this. They study it. They invest in it. They've turned freedom into a brand. It's marketed, packaged, exported, and monetized. They use it to justify wars, policies, propaganda. Hey, we're spreading freedom? Yeah, like a disease. Because freedom to them isn't about you. It's about control. That they can make you believe you're free while you're serving their interests they've won. That's not liberty. That's hypnosis. But the truth is, freedom isn't something they can give or take. It's not in a flag, a song, or a document. What's it? It's a state of mind. It's the moment you stop believing their bullshit. The second you stop needing their approval, their labels, their permission. That's freedom. When you stop confusing comfort with happiness, when you stop mistaking ownership for purpose, that's freedom. But that kind of freedom doesn't make anyone money, so they keep you chasing the counterfeit version. You want to be free? Turn off the noise, step outside the script. Start thinking for yourself. Stop renting your life to a system that profits off your confusion. Freedom isn't free, but it's not for sale either. You either claim it in your mind or you spend your life financing the illusion. And that's the punchline, isn't it? The biggest joke of all. The land of the free, owned by the few, operated by the many, and worshipped by the blind. They tell you freedom is your birthright. What they mean is it's their business model. Because in the end, you don't lose freedom all at once. It's leased out. One small payment at a time. That's the system, folks, the layaway plan for liberty. And the interest rate? Let's just say it's collecting more than money. All right, let's take it from where the illusion leaves off, because that's where the real comedy begins. You see, the whole idea of a smart society sounds so cute on paper, doesn't it? We've got gadgets, AI, data, satellites, algorithms. It's like the universe finally gave us all the tools to solve our problems. But what did we do? We made filters for duck faces, apps to rate sandwiches, and social platforms to argue with strangers who can't spell. The great human mind, capable of splitting atoms and decoding DNA, decided the best use of its intelligence was to invent a talking refrigerator that tells you you're out of milk. That's progress, baby. We're surrounded by technology that's supposed to make us smarter, yet somehow we've never been dumber. People say that technology connects us. Sure, it connects us. The same way two fish hooks connect in a tackle box. Everybody's caught, tangled, thrashing around for attention. We're not connecting, we're colliding. We don't talk to each other. We perform at each other. Every post, every photo, every caption, a little performance of how great your life looks when the camera's on. It's all smiles, sunsets, and success stories until the battery dies and you're sitting there in silence, wondering why you still feel empty. And it's funny, isn't it? We've got more communication tools than any generation before us. Phones, texts, DM, video calls, virtual reality, holograms. Yet somehow, we can't even have a real conversation without checking notifications. You ask someone, "How are you?" And they say, "Hold on, let me check." We've turned relationships into Wi-Fi signals. The connection drops as soon as you move out of range. But people love to brag about how smart we've become. Smart homes, smart cars, smart cities. Everything's smart except the people using them. The phone's smart, the watch is smart, the toaster's smart, and the human is sitting in the middle, drooling over the next software update. We've got self-driving cars, but we can't even drive our own thoughts straight. We've automated everything except common sense. They say machines are learning faster than ever. Great. Meanwhile, humans are unlearning everything that mattered. Patience, empathy, depth, humility. We don't read, we scroll. We don't think, we react. We don't reflect, we post. We've become so addicted to stimulation that silence feels like punishment. If you sit still for more than 2 minutes without a screen, your brain starts to panic. Quick, refresh something. Check something. Validate something. And this obsession with being connected all the time, it's killing the very thing that makes us human. We've traded curiosity for convenience. We used to wonder about the stars. Now we Google them. We used to tell stories. Now we share clips. We used to ask a why. Now we just ask a how much. Now we just ask how much. The machine gives us answers before we've even asked good questions. That's not intelligence. That's dependency. But here's the kicker. We think all this tech has made us advanced, but it's really made us fragile. We're one dead battery away from an existential crisis. You lose your phone, and suddenly you don't know where you are, who you are, or how to contact anyone who does. People used to survive wars, famines, and plagues. Now they cry when the Wi-Fi goes down for an hour. We've become so soft, so pampered by comfort, that we mistake inconvenience for tragedy. My food took 10 minutes instead of 5. The video didn't load instantly. That's not suffering, that's spoiled. We've got kids growing up thinking emotional resilience means deleting negative comments. We built a culture where discomfort is the enemy and convenience is the god. Everything must be easy, instant, frictionless, even thinking. That's why people love slogans. They don't have to think about them. They can just repeat them like parrots with Wi-Fi. Just stay positive, a good vibes only. Or don't overthink it. The dumber the phrase, the faster it spreads. And it's not just individuals, it's the whole society. We used to value depth. Now we value visibility. Doesn't matter if you're right, thoughtful, or even sane, as long as you're trending. The world doesn't reward truth anymore. It rewards engagement. Lies get more clicks, outrage gets more attention, stupidity gets more airtime. And every time someone points that out, people say, that's just how the algorithm works. Like it's some natural disaster. No, that's how you work. The algorithm just studied your behavior and sold it back to you. We've turned ignorance into entertainment. You can't tell the difference between a news broadcast and a parody anymore. Half the time, the parody's more accurate. People don't want to be informed. They want to be entertained while pretending they care. You've got influencers giving life advice who can't even keep their own lives together. Gurus selling enlightenment between ad breaks. And activists who spend more time hashtagging than helping. It's a circus, and the audience doesn't realize they're part of the acts. We've become obsessed with speed. Faster data, faster delivery, faster gratification. But nobody asks where we're rushing to. Everyone's sprinting towards something and nobody knows what it is. We've confused motion with progress. It's like watching a hamster brag about how fast it can run in its wheel. Oh, look at me go. Yeah, but you're not going anywhere, buddy. You're just wearing yourself out while the cage stays exactly where it's always been. And the craziest part, we actually call this information age. Nedge? That's hilarious. There's more data than ever, but less understanding. We've got more access to knowledge than all of human history combined. And somehow, we've produced a generation that thinks that doing your own research means watching 3 TikToks and a conspiracy podcast. The problem isn't lack of information. It's the inability to process it. We're drowning in facts, but starving for truth. People love to say, knowledge is power. But that's not true anymore. Information isn't power, it's noise. Power belongs to the ones who control the noise. The corporations, the media networks, the tech giants. They decide what you see, what you know, what you care about. And they do it so smoothly that you think it's your own idea. That's the real genius of this smart world. It's built to make you believe you're the one in charge. We live in an age where people measure their worth in likes, their intelligence in followers, and their happiness in engagement rates. The saddest thing? They think that's freedom. They think having a voice online means they matter. But shouting into a crowd of millions isn't expression. It's noise. Oh, crap. Nobody's listening. Everyone's just waiting for their turn to speak. We've mistaken visibility for validation and noise for meaning. And you can't even talk about this without someone saying, you sound negative. That's the ultimate irony. Being realistic is now considered a bad attitude. Try telling the truth and they'll call you cynical. Criticize the system and they'll say you're bitter. It's not that you're wrong, it's that you're inconvenient. The world doesn't want honesty. It wants harmony, even if it's built on bullshit. This obsession with appearances has infected everything. Politics, media, education, even spirituality. Everything's a performance now. Politicians don't lead, they market themselves. Teachers don't teach, they manage content. Even the news doesn't report, it competes for clicks. Everyone's chasing relevance in a world that forgot what relevance means. It's not about truth anymore, it's about staying visible, staying viral, staying brand safe. And what happens when everyone's performing all the time? Nobody's real anymore. We've created an entire society of avatars pretending to be humans. You can't even tell if someone's happy or just really good at pretending to be happy. Everyone's curating their life like a museum exhibit. Carefully staged, beautifully lit, emotionally hollow. We've replaced authenticity with aesthetics. You don't have to be good anymore, you just have to look good. Meanwhile, behind all the filters and smiles, people are breaking down. Anxiety, depression, loneliness through the roof. You'd think being connected would make us feel less alone, but it's done the opposite. We're surrounded by millions of people and still starving for genuine connection. Because all this technology doesn't fill the void. It just decorates it. And here's the punchline. The system doesn't want you to notice. It wants you distracted. The noisier the world gets, the easier it is to control. They don't have to censor you. They just drown you in nonsense until your attention is too scattered to matter. You're not silenced, you're overloaded. The truth isn't hidden, it's buried under memes, headlines, and hot takes. They don't have to control your thoughts, just your focus. And guess what? They already do. You think you're making choices, but the choices are made for you. Personalized, optimized, monetized. Every scroll, every click, every second of attention, it's data, and that data feeds the machine. The machine learns what outrages you, what excites you, what scares you, and then it gives you more of it. It keeps you emotionally invested because emotional people spend more. You're not the customer, you're the product. You're not browsing, you're being harvested. And yet, we defend this system. We call it progress. We call it innovation. We call it the future. No one stops to ask if it's actually better. Better for who? Better for what? We're producing more stuff, consuming more information, generating more noise, and none of it fills the hole. The smarter our machines get, the emptier we feel. That's not advancement. That's irony. We think we've outgrown superstition, but we've just replaced it. We don't pray to gods anymore. We pray to gadgets. We don't kneel before altars. We bow to screens. We don't sacrifice animals. We sacrifice attention. Technology didn't kill religion. It just rebranded it, and the high priests wear hoodies now. You ever notice how people can't even sit through a movie without checking their phones? We're not living life anymore. We're sampling it. Taking tiny bites of everything, digesting nothing. And when you live like that long enough, you forget what depth feels like. You become numb. You laugh, but it's hollow. You cry, but it's performative. You will care, but only until the next notification. We're not a society of thinkers anymore. We're a society of reactors. We don't pause, we pounce. Outrage has become the new currency. People don't argue to learn. They argue to win. They don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. It's not about truth. It's about attention. And attention has replaced meaning as the measure of value. That's the real tragedy. Not that we've become stupid, but that we've stopped wanting to be smart. We've accepted distraction as destiny. We've mistaken noise for life. And the saddest part is, we laugh about it like it's a joke. We shrug and say, that's just the world now. No, that's the world they built, and we helped build it. Every click, every like, every repost, a tiny piece of the cage we call progress. And maybe, just maybe, the real punchline is that we built the machine that's now programming us. The same minds that invented tools to free us are now trapped by them. Too entertained to notice, too busy to care. We became the smartest species on Earth, and the dumbest version of ourselves. That's the price of smart progress. The gadgets got smarter, the people didn't. And the universe? It's watching all this unfold, perfectly silent, perfectly indifferent, waiting for the punchline we still don't get. You ever notice how politics has turned into a circus? And not even a good one. Not the kind with lions and trapeze artists. No. This is the kind where all the clowns are running the show and the elephants and donkeys are fighting over who gets to shovel the most crap. It's a performance, a grand illusion, a magic trick for adults who still want to believe in Santa Claus. Only now he's wearing a suit, shaking hands and promising hope or a change, depending on which side of the fantasy you've chosen. And people line up every 4 years like kids waiting for toys, hoping this time the old man will actually bring what he promised. Spoiler alert, he never does. He never will. Because he doesn't work for you. He never did. See, politics isn't about representation, about management. It's about keeping people busy, distracted, arguing, and hopeful just enough to keep paying taxes and obeying orders. It's like one of those endless customer service calls. You know you're never going to talk to the person in charge, but they'll keep you on hold just long enough to think you might. The music changes, a new voice comes on the line. Your call is very important to us. And you start to believe maybe, just maybe, something will change. But it never does. because you were never calling the right number to begin with. That's politics. A carefully maintained illusion of power for people who don't have any. You're told you're free. You're told you have rights. You're told you're part of a democracy. But if you really did, do you think the people in charge would let you? Come on. The moment you have real power, they make a law to take it away from you. Try skipping taxes. Try walking into a corporate boardroom and telling them how to spend their billions. Try telling a senator what to vote for. See how far your voice gets you then. They don't want your input. They want your obedience. They want you to keep playing along. They want you to vote, complain, post memes, march a little, yell a lot, and then go back to work Monday morning like nothing happened. And that's the beauty of it. The system doesn't need to silence you. It just needs to exhaust you. It wears you down with lies, noise, and fake choices until you stop caring. You don't revolt. You just shrug. But what's the point? That's the real victory for them. Not control through fear, but control through fatigue. Keep people tired, broke, distracted, and entertained, and they'll never notice the walls closing in. Because as long as you've got a new gadget, a new series to binge, a new scandal to argue about, you'll keep feeling like something's happening. You'll confuse motion with progress. The political system figured out something long ago. People don't want truth. They want stories. They want to feel right more than they want to be right. They don't want uncomfortable facts. They want comforting lies. And politicians are the best storytellers in the business. They know how to make you feel like you matter while making sure you don't. They give you slogans, flags, and enemies. They give you the illusion of sides. Us via them, a left versus right, a red via vu. But it's all the same game, just painted in different colors. Because it's easier to believe the next guy will fix it than to admit the whole thing is rotten. And what's even funnier is how proud people are of their political team. You ever notice that? People talk about their party like it's a football club. We won the election. They don't want to solve problems, they want to manage them. Because if the problems go away, so does their power. If people actually got along, thought critically, and stopped buying their nonsense, the whole empire would collapse overnight.